who have joined us today in board chambers and also remotely watching the meeting via our live stream video broadcast. Welcome to the March 21st, 2023 board meeting. This meeting will now come to order. Our board secretary will call the roll to establish a quorum. Lee?
Commissioner Brewer,
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Here.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Hart,
Here.
Commissioner Matenki, Commissioner Parker,
Here.
Commissioner Washington,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hurlock.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Due to unforeseen circumstances at this time, I would like to present a motion to change the order of the agenda as follows. And we would go from 8:30 to 9:30, the board would meet in closed session. From 9:30 to 10:30, we will have centering thoughts from Commissioner Harris, followed by the CEO Scott's report. And next will be a presentation of agenda items to the full board. Public participation related to agenda items, voting of agenda items, general public testimony, and lastly, adjournment of the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Are there any opposed votes, abstentions, or recusals? Hearing none, the motion to change the order of today's meeting agenda has been unanimously approved. I'll now present, so it has been approved. So we're going to go into closed session, and we will be back in approximately 60 minutes. Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for rejoining today's meeting in person and via our live stream video broadcast. Commissioners just finished meeting in closed session. We're now ready to start the business portion of the meeting. Our board secretary will call the roll.
Commissioner Brewer,
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Here.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Hart,
Here.
Commissioner Matenki,
Here.
Commissioner Parker, Commissioner Washington,
Here.
Commissioner Hurlock.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Lee. We will now have centering thoughts by Commissioner Dr. Mildred Harris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And good morning to everyone. My centering thought is going to be very brief this morning. And it starts out like this. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your character. So watch, look, and listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris, for those words of wisdom. Next on our agenda is our report from CEO Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Harris, for ceding your time to me. I'm not short today, but I will try to move through this quickly. To the Board of Commissioners, resident leaders, residents, and participants, and other members of the public, welcome. Because this is the first board meeting in 2023, I'd like to take a moment to update you on 2022, which our theme was Make the Difference. What does this mean to us? At a Take Flight event last year, a mother told me that CHA has changed her life and her daughter's. She said she opens every letter, reads every email and flyer from CHA because they represent new opportunities that she can provide for her daughter. She said, people don't know how much CHA does to support residents. And by the way, her daughter is on a full ride scholarship to Fisk University this year. That's making a difference. If you can put the slides up. Yeah, thank you. In 2022, CHA also continued to serve the 63,000 families, of which 47,000 families are utilizing vouchers in our HCV program. We delivered new units, and there's several under construction, and 64 residents, as you can see here, 64 residents and Housing Choice Voucher participants became new homeowners in 2022. In December, I also had the pleasure of recognizing 16 CHA employees who make the difference in the lives of residents, their colleagues, and their community. They were nominated by their coworkers, and these 16 employees, please keep the slide. Yeah. These 16 employees exemplify the work that the 500 and plus CHA employees do every day. So I'd like to take this time to acknowledge all CHA staff for their hard work, their dedication, and mostly for their care and compassion for our families. All CHA staff who are here, if you could stand up, please, and just be recognized. Okay. Soon we will be issuing an annual report that reflects our 2022 theme and our impact. It's called Make the Difference. Make the Difference seemed to resonate so much that we continued it into 2023. And we remain focused on providing families with pathways to unlock their economic power. Here's a recent example. If you could please play the video.
Living in public housing for more than a decade, a Chatham woman dreamed about owning her own home.
A CHA program helped Cherie Gary's dream become a reality. CBS 2's Suzanne Lemonnier has the inspiring story you'll see only on 2.
Come on in. This is our living room. We kind of spend time watching movies and stuff here.
Cherie Gary gives me a tour of her new home here in Chatham.
I feel accomplished, overjoyed. I can go on.
That smile on Gary's face was 3 years in the making. That's when she attended a workshop and filled out all the paperwork to apply for the Chicago Housing Authority's Choose to Own home ownership program.
I learned money management, how to manage your money monthly, weekly, and overall how to have savings put to the side for incidentals.
Gary had lived in public housing for 14 years.
And then I was like, I'm ready. I have the credit score. I have all the requirements that they needed.
Gary is the 800th person to own a home through Choose to Own. She closed 6 months ago.
I kind of get chills when I think about it.
Jimmy Stewart is the manager of home ownership for the program.
Cherie worked really, really hard towards making this possible. I understand that when you help someone to fulfill their dreams, it's so much bigger than a home. It literally changes their future, their children's future.
Go ahead.
Gary, who is studying to become a special education teacher at Chicago State University, is the mother of 20-year-old Desire and 7-year-old Journey. Now they all call this 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom brick bungalow home.
I'm looking forward to many, many Christmases.
Gary says those holiday gatherings are possible because of her late father, Melvin Lyles. Lyles and his wife, Lilybell, adopted Gary when she was just 9 months old. He always told his daughter not to rely on government assistance.
He would be so proud, grinning from ear to ear. He probably even would shed a tear, and he wasn't a man that cried.
No doubt, tears of joy.
Oh no.
Suzanne Lemonnier, CBS 2 News.
What a great story and a great program as well. In addition to financial education, the program also gives homeowners help with mortgage payments, in some cases hundreds of dollars a month for up to 30 years. A total of 64 families were able to purchase homes through the CHA Choose to Own program just last year alone. For more information on the program and how to apply, you can go to our website, cbschicago.com.
So in addition to helping families, our annual budget reflects CHA's mission of building strong mixed-use, mixed-income communities on the former public housing sites. We also invest in preserving the existing affordable housing. Next slide, please. I just want to point out, these are just a few highlights. You can read them. I won't walk through them, but I do want to mention that at this point today, we have over 1,700 mixed-income units that are currently under construction that CHA is a part of. This includes major rehabilitation projects at Senior Buildings, Albany Terrace, and Irene McCoy Gaines, which is a $160 million investment in those families there. Next slide. These are some additional construction projects that we are working on that are both on CHA land as well, all on CHA land. Next. Okay. You can keep that. I'm sorry. You can keep that slide up, the last slide. So I did want to just mention one project that we announced very recently, because thriving communities include more than housing, which is why we're very excited about the ground lease with the Chicago Fire Football Club. By reactivating former ABLA land that sat vacant for nearly 20 years, CHA is bringing over $40 million in much-needed resources to repair and renovate nearby housing and community buildings. The Fire will also provide job and career opportunities and youth programming. This project is notable for other reasons. CHA and the Fire worked with the ABLA Brooks Homes and other resident leadership for over a year to draw up plans that will benefit residents. And for the first time, those community investments are included in the ground lease, which makes them enforceable. This is a major, major development for us, and we're so happy to have worked with the residents on a binding agreement around the community investments. CHA also worked closely with our development partner, Related Midwest, to ensure that we can still meet our housing commitments at Roosevelt Square. And we can. As we speak, Roosevelt Square 3B began construction of 222 mixed-income units in 3 buildings, plus a new grocery store and restaurant. One of the buildings will house the National Public Housing Museum. All these investments add to the vitality of the neighborhood and the housing, and for the benefit of residents. Next slide. Just want to mention a couple of upcoming events before I close. First, Flipping the Script, which is our nonprofit that benefits youth and provides scholarships, is coming up on May 18th. The Owners Symposium is for owners who want to be involved in or are already involved in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That symposium is coming up May 4th. The registration just opened a couple of days ago. And then last but not least, our Work Center, which is our Workforce Opportunity Resource Center, is having a hiring event on March 23rd this week, as well as other ongoing seminars for those that are starting businesses, want to expand their businesses. I encourage you to go to our website, look for work. So make the difference. Our theme last year, it is also a clarion call, a challenge, and a call to action. Activity alone will not suffice, nor is it enough to accept the status quo or rest on past achievements. Our work is urgent and intentional, and quality housing in thriving mixed-income, mixed-use communities are our tools. Combined with services, we aim to change the trajectory for children and provide stability for aging adults. Won't you join us in this journey? On behalf of the management and the staff of CHA, I want to thank you, and we look forward to a great 2023.
Thank you, Tracy, for that report, and congratulations again to Miss Gary, who was the 800th homeowner, and just all the things that are going on right now. The staff is doing an amazing job to make sure that families are taken care of. Commissioners, draft minutes of committee meetings, regular board meetings, and the closed session for November 15th, 2022 were included in your supplemental materials. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the committees, regular board, and closed meetings?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed votes, recusals, or abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes are hereby approved as submitted. We will now move on to the staff's presentation of resolutions for items number 1 through 8. As a reminder, registered comments from the audience will be entertained after presentation by the staff and discussion by the commissioners. Items will be voted on after public participation. Number 1 will be presented by Jenny Hoyle, Deputy Chief of Staff. Item number 1 is the request for approval of the fiscal year 2022 MTW annual report and authorization to submit the report to HUD. Jenny?
Good morning, Commissioners. Submission of an annual report to HUD by March 31st is a requirement of our participation in the MTW program. The report includes year-end information regarding CHA programs and operations, as well as information demonstrating our compliance with the MTW program. I wanted to mention that I did make edits to the report based on feedback that I received from commissioners during the briefings, including in filling in some missing information that Commissioner Harris identified and adding property addresses pursuant to a request from Commissioner Washington. So I'm available to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioners, do we have any additional questions?
I have one question. I'm still researching, looking for the information on hard and soft units for the $25,000 that's supposed to have returned, which we discussed.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Harris, I couldn't hear you.
I'm talking about hard and soft units. We were promised 25,000 hard units and not soft.
Thank you.
I do have some additional information, historic information that I can provide that might help with that, so I'm happy to do that.
Okay. I need to see it when I get back.
If there aren't any additional questions, Commissioner Parker? Okay, 1 minute, please. Can you push?
Yeah, I just wanted you to touch a little bit on your our move to work activities. I know the CEO did the slides, but you know, the public probably couldn't really see or hear any nearing completion or significantly completed.
So we do have 28 MTW activities that we administered in 2022, and we
Please.
Talking to Mike.
Can't hear.
oh, sorry. We do have metrics in the report on all of those activities. So 78% of the time, CHA either met or exceeded what its projections were for those activities, so they were very successful. The example I would use is our Choose to Own program. We had projected that we would have 55 new homeowners, and there were actually 64. So all of those outcomes are outlined in detail in the report itself.
Okay, when I'm thinking move to work involves major construction.
Commissioners, may I remind you that you need to speak into the mic? If not, the public will not hear you, nor
Oh.
our live stream.
No, yeah, I was kind of more a little bit about major construction or new housing.
Yes, we delivered 249 new units. 20 of those are public housing units. 229 were project-based voucher units. And we also engaged in redevelopment activity at sites such as Ickes, Lathrop, Madden Wells, and Edith Spurlock Sampson that will deliver units in future years, either in 2023 or beyond.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. I wanted to know the status of the projects not completed under the unit delivery plan.
So the projects where we didn't deliver units in 2022 are scheduled to deliver units in 2023. So it really was just a delay in the unit delivery. The projects have not fallen off our radar.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Hearing no other questions from commissioners. Okay, thank you, Jenny. We'll have the next 4 items will be presented by Dominic, Deputy Chief of Human Resources. We will start with item number 1, recommendation to purchase insurance coverages for CHA's Property Managers Insurance Program and the commercial property.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Mall, our risk manager, will be presenting on the PMIP and commercial property coverage.
Dominic. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The item before you is a recommendation to purchase insurance coverages for CHA's property managers insurance program and commercial property for the period of April 1st, 2023 through March 31st of 2024 for a not to exceed amount of $5,554,371. This is based on the primary general liability layer with Zurich Insurance for a premium amount of $114,000. The lead excess liability coverage is written through General Star for a premium amount of $832,400. The second excess layer is written through Allied World Assurance Company for a premium of $315,000, and the commercial property insurance written through Travelers for a premium amount of $4,292,971. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Are there questions from the commissioners?
Okay, since this is full coverage, do the property managers have any type of liability?
Property managers are required to purchase and provide insurance for their professional liability. The general liability insurance that we provide is solely related to the exposures present at our residential properties, solely within the scope of the work that they are performing under the property management agreement.
But so that's what I'm asking. Their liability is what? How much are they required to have a liability insurance?
They are required to have their own separate general liability insurance.
Is there a set amount?
I'm sorry?
Is there a set amount they're supposed to have?
They're
A
required.
coverage.
The general
Is there a set amount of coverage they're supposed to
Is
have?
there a minimum general liability coverage we require?
It's
From the property.
$2 million is the general liability aggregate for the general liability coverage. It's $5 million for the professional liability, and then other coverages that they're required
From property management?
for property management.
Okay, it went up. Last time it was like $5,000, which wasn't no money.
I'm sorry.
Were there other questions?
No, that's it.
I had asked for a brief summary on why the coverages are getting so high and how much we self-insure to avoid some of that additional premium. Could you give us a brief explanation of that?
We self-insure for our general liability. We have a $250,000 self-insured retention, followed by a $2 million general liability policy with a matching deductible. And then we have in excess $20 million. The aggregate premium.
Did everyone catch that the $2 million has a $2 million deductible on it? So we're self-insuring really for
Up to $2 million.
$2.25, which is the way that we get the premium as low as we've gotten it.
Correct. This year was a flat renewal for the general liability premium and an aggregate of a 4% increase over the expiring year. Our property insurance has increased, which is driving the overall premium increase. And this is due specifically to the just the industry standards, the construction costs, the catastrophic events that have occurred in the last 2 years is overall affecting the insurance reinsurance.
And the number of insurance carriers that are no longer interested in insuring public housing,
Correct.
which is a shame.
Are there additional questions? Okay. Hearing none, thank you, Jennifer. We'll move on to item number 3, recommendation to ratify purchase of coverages for employee health insurance benefits.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are asking the board to approve the allocation of funding for CHA's health insurance benefits for a total of 5 years with aggregate amounts not to exceed year-over-year 5% increases. The caveat to that is if and when we should have a bad year, knock on wood, we would be responsible to fund and approve that. So the timing on that will require us to inform the board at the last meeting of each year based on trends and whether we're close to the 5%, higher, lower, etc. So we will be informing the board at the last meeting of every year where we are at in terms of claims for benefits, considering we have a 5% threshold not to exceed. So I'd open it up to the board with any questions.
Oh, yeah, I got one. I think we talked about it in briefing. What was added to this insurance policy? What other benefits was allocated for the staff?
Sure, great question. So we have really ramped up our benefits program for staff. We heard loud and clear that there were a handful of benefits that staff that were interested in that we currently didn't have on the docket. So for example, we added pet insurance this year through Pets Best. We consolidated our dental program, so now it is included with our medical plan under Blue Cross Blue Shield. We also added Perspectives, which is our new EAP provider. It's a comprehensive program where they are going to be very collaborative with staff. We have a management training we're going to be doing this week where EAP is a part of that.
Dominic, what is the EAP?
Oh, I'm sorry. EAP is Employee Assistance Program.
What does that cover?
Any staff member that should need any services, whether, I always use the example, it could be something as I need to know how to bake a turkey. They can call EAP. They'll give them all the resources on how to bake a turkey, down to needing maybe some mental health resources or financial planning. It can be a whole myriad of things. Employee Assistance Program is here for a resource for staff, and Perspective is an amazing organization that does a great job at providing support for employees.
So is that mental health piece new? Because I know this is my first time hearing mental health.
So thank you for that question. It's not new. I will just say that our former EAP program wasn't as robust as what we are currently making it. And we are spending a lot of time and energy and effort and really collaborating with Perspectives and making sure that we're routinely having meetings and staff know that they're available and what services they offer. We're spending just a lot of time on that. And then the last piece was we added a voluntary 529 college savings plan for staff where they can allocate money towards their children or any member that they designate for college. So we added a whole slew of new benefits on the docket this year, and we plan to add more for 2024. So we're really excited about that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to the next item, which is item number 4, approval of business expense reimbursement and travel policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are asking the board to approve the business expense and reimbursement travel policy. We have spent a lot of time and due diligence in editing the current policy, and as part of our review process, we've streamlined and updated the prior policy to comply with updated and current laws, legislation, and practices. Some of the key revisions that we made to this policy is we consolidated 2 former policies and eliminated any redundancies in the current business expense and travel policy. We added some definitions. We detailed procedural steps that we're taking between finance and human resources and IT. We've streamlined the process so that human resources is going to be administering this program for staff that travel for conferences or workshops. And we also updated current procedures on our mileage reimbursement policy. Thank you, Commissioner Washington, for that feedback during the briefings. We are in the process of making those changes and rolling that out to staff. We currently had a 5-mile minimum requirement in order for staff to be reimbursed for mileage. We removed that, so when a staff member travels even for 1 mile, they should be able to get reimbursed for that. So we made that change. We're going to be rolling that out to staff shortly. So I'd open it up to any questions, should the board have any.
I would like to ask that the board be provided with a update of the red line version of all policy changes. Informational purpose.
Absolutely. Was it not provided?
I said a red line.
No, it wasn't.
I believe I got one because I asked for it in my briefing.
Absolutely. We can have that to the board in 30 seconds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did
Are
have
there
a
other
question.
questions?
I did have a question. It's off the wall, but it's not off the wall, but it's me. When you talk about traveling in and out of state per diem, and I just been too busy to look it up, but I remember the laws was changed. At one time for per diem, people got to eat. Although it don't look like none of us missed any meals, okay? And we had to bring receipts back. You got to eat. I know about travel, all that, but you have to eat. Per diem is what each city or state provides per meals. And I said it, but I'm going to say it again. When me and Ms. Park was asked to bring receipts back, first I thought it was kind of personal. I thought we brothers, why we had to bring receipts back just for per diem for eating and bill. But then I realized it's something you all trying to put in place. But I think we should research the law on that. It's okay, this is what we're going to do, but I remember when the regs changed on that. So that was a big thing throughout the authority and other agencies. And we have all these attorneys on hold or just waiting. We need to research that.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner, for
Because
that.
I don't think that's right. And I'm trying to find my notes. I had a big flood, but I mean, I know somebody's good looking up stuff, but I don't think that's the law. It changed.
Sure. So, Commissioner, the reason that we request receipts are for a few reasons. One, the GSA website requires, it has allocated amounts based on the city you're traveling to. It's broken down by breakfast, by lunch, by dinner. We ask for those receipts because we have some expenses that are not reimbursable. So, for example, if you just, I'm not saying you would do this, but let's just say a staff member travels to wherever and they have dinner and they have a glass of wine with that dinner, the wine is not reimbursed by CHA. So we ask for the receipts, one, to verify the amounts, but to ensure that whatever is asked to be reimbursed meets that criteria.
We're not going to discuss this, but per diem was an automatic. If I'm going to have wine, I'm going to have wine, whether with your money or mine.
No,
if I'm a drinker.
Unfortunately, if you're asking to be reimbursed,
I'll
that is
find
not
out.
covered.
I'll find out this week.
But could I add to that? Just one, when you talk about per diem, it's the maximum is like $69. So that's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes,
I mean, it ain't gonna be no change and no wine with that. I don't know what we eating. We can't even eat McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
sure,
that change left, but okay. But the other one was about, I didn't know that the check bag was part of that, because if I'm going to the airport and you book the flight and you book the room, why do I gotta pay for the check bag and then wait 30 days to be reimbursed?
Yeah, so depending on where you're going, if you check a bag, you can get reimbursed for that. We will cover that, but we can't automatically assume everyone's going to check a bag. But if you do, we will reimburse you for that.
And so I just wanted a copy of the old policy as well. I don't mind, because a lot of times, like you said, we end up owing the authority, or we have to give you a check to back. So I guess it's okay to tell you what you owe me opposed to me owing you.
Yeah, and Human Resources is more than happy to kind of coordinate with any board member or employee that is traveling to work out those logistics, and that's kind of the goal moving forward, is to have a collaborative conversation about the who, what, where, when, and why, so that there isn't any speculation. We're more than happy to help out anyone.
So the person, a staff or anyone else, is having maybe financial difficulty, and they say, well, this time I can't cover this, I need to cover it up front. Is that doable?
Yeah, so we are handling those on a case-by-case basis. One of the things that we are doing moving forward is CHA is covering the hotel costs. Historically, that was not the case. Staff had to front load that themselves and then ask for reimbursement on the back end. So moving forward, airfare is covered and hotel by CHA, which is the two biggest costs for out-of-state conferences or workshops.
I need to see that policy because there's no way that staff should be paying for hotels and wait on reimbursement. We're traveling on behalf of the agency.
I
so
agree.
the
That's why we
agency
changed
should
it.
be making sure that the people, everybody don't have just a credit card or money that they can use when they're traveling on behalf of the agency, not themselves.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Dominic.
Commissioner. I believe the CEO wanted to share something.
Yes, I just wanted to reinforce what Dominic is saying. One of the reasons that we changed the policy is that we did have a practice at CHA of requiring employees to put up a lot of money prior to traveling, and that felt unfair. And is not a practice that I wanted to continue. And so we had a lot of discussions about how can we do that. And so going along with this change in the policy is that we have made arrangements that through human resources, when a staff person or board member, anyone wants to travel, they will make the arrangements for the transportation, the hotel, as well as the conference fees and so on. So all that's left are basic incidentals and food. And in addition, we are also streamlining the process around reimbursements to make sure that employees get reimbursed in a timely manner. So between the two of them, we are reducing the burden on employees. There shouldn't be a burden to do business for CHA.
I know all y'all happy. Them
So-
not y'all don't want that travel.
If there isn't any further questions on that, we'll move into item number 5 that reads approval of the personnel policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the second policy we're asking the board to approve. Similar to the first one, we have completed all necessary due diligence on the personnel policy. Some of the key changes is that we've streamlined a lot of the guiding principles in the personnel policy. We've added definitions to clarify key terms. And one of, I believe, the most important pieces is that our current personnel policies were embedded in our employee handbook, which is a procedures manual. We wanted to make a distinction between policy and procedures. So that is why the personnel policy is coming before you for approval. And we updated and incorporated a handful of changes regarding state, federal, and local laws as well.
Any questions on that?
Yeah, I got one, a couple. Just like remote work, you said CHA may allow remote work at CHA's discretion. Who is CHA?
So CHA refers to the entity, and then in that case, the employee handbook refers to a division chief. So a division chief, regarding remote work specifically, makes the decision whether or not their department can telework, and then furthermore, they would decide whether it would be a 4 or 3 hybrid model. So there's 3 models under the remote work program. 3 days, which is the employee reports into the office 3 days and teleworks for 2, or 4, they report into the office 4 days a week, telework 1, and then we have the 5 in-office days, which means that employee group cannot telework due to their responsibilities and division.
So is that upon board approval? Because I'm still confused with the remote work. I know it started during COVID. What's the purpose of keeping remote work still on the table?
Great question. We saw during COVID that we saw a turnover spike, and staff were leaving, particularly in specific areas, due to other organizations allowing full-time remote versus us not allowing any. So it was a competitive decision we made to implement a remote work program at CHA, while understanding that our agency requires us to be face-to-face. So we knew we couldn't be 100% remote like Northern Trust, which is our neighbor, which half of their staff are 100% remote forever and ever. So we made the decision to implement a 5, a 4, and a 3 model. There are several divisions at CHA that do not telework at all.
Right, and that kind of seems unfair. It's like they have to be at work 40 hours a week on the job, and then we got people so-called teleworking, because I still feel like ain't no lot of work getting done under the remote situation. A lot of people that I know reaching out to me saying when they try to contact staff, they don't know what's the remote day. Is they at the office, they at home, you know.
Every division has a schedule that we have access to that indicates what coverage looks like and what the scheduling looks like. So I can assure you that every division chief knows exactly where their staff at every single day.
So we put that in the hands of the chiefs, and I mean, again, I don't know how they pick what employee at what time. I mean, that's to me, that's a little unorganized, so that means we never know, or who do the chief report that to and when, or do they? Or does the chief know that they got 5 people at home teleworking, or is that, do the agency know who is where 24 hours? I mean, 7 days a week, 5 days a week.
Sure. So when I say chief, I mean they have the ultimate jurisdiction to determine what works for their division.
Okay.
But when you look further down the line in every division's org chart, we have the deputy chiefs and the directors. So they're essentially directly managing the teams and the staff. Again, there are several divisions that do not telework at CHA, and it's not necessarily a fair issue. It's a job function issue. There are job functions that cannot physically telework solely based on their work.
All right, I don't want to spend it all on teleworking. What about the donated sick leave bank? You said you could start the bank, then you can dispose of the bank at I don't know whose free will to say, I got all these hours in the bank, and then now we're gonna get rid of it.
Yeah, so we're not going to get rid of it. The way the sick bank works, Human Resources administers it. So when a staff member leaves or retires, and they have excess sick days, they can dump those sick days into the leave bank. And then what happens is when a staff member runs out of sick time, an active employee, and they need time, they can utilize those sick days up to 80 hours.
But I want to give my sick days to who I want to give them to. You mean who gonna decide?
Unfortunately, yeah, no, that can't
If I put
happen.
my stuff in the bank, I want to be able to allocate. So how do I know who getting what would make another, you pick the person that gets the sick?
We
somebody
don't
else.
pick, an employee has to request it, and there's certain criteria that an employee has to meet in order to get that.
Okay.
Historically, that was a really big problem at CHA, is staff members were able to choose who they wanted to give those sick days to regardless of any threshold, and that was a really big problem.
Also, that's what I'm saying about having proposed an old policy, because I never even knew that was a policy. So when we like asking us to approve it, especially me, I just need a copy of what was before.
Absolutely.
Because I never knew that you had a sick bank. When people were expiring their FMLAs without pay, I didn't know it was a sick bank.
I believe
at the CHA.
I believe the handbook that the board approved in 2017 specifically outlined all of that, where an employee could say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you 50 hours of sick time to my friend," and the employee could use it for whatever reason.
Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Never.
Yes.
I've worked with sick banks, but I've never been a part of a program where an employee can give their allotted time to anyone that they choose. It's not a fair issue. I'm sorry, it is a fairness issue. In human resources, we run into all kinds of problems with that. If someone has a lot of friends, then they can get a lot of sick time versus someone that doesn't, that may need it. So the eligibility criteria is if you meet FMLA guidelines and there's a medical or FMLA necessity to need time and you don't have any, then you can dip into the sick bank regardless of who you know or how many friends you have.
Were there other questions?
Yeah, personal leave. This is the last one. So on the personal leave, this is really not a policy. It's not specific. And when it asks, I don't know what the current policy was when it's saying the accrual time for personal leave. So how do they accrue time? Because I know we cut back on what they can carry over and stuff like that.
Are you referring to vacation?
Yeah, not a personal leave.
So personal leave, new employees receive 2 personal days a year, and after
Only
one,
2, so that's like calculated on an hour.
Oh, it's divided by month.
Oh, so they only get 2.
So we front load those personal
Okay.
days.
And then other stuff they can build it up, right?
We also front load vacation, but it is based on an accrual formula. So we front load the vacation time. We started that this year in 2023. However, should a new employee begin at CHA, we still front load that vacation time, but it's based off of a prorated amount. And then if a staff member were to leave sometime throughout the year and did not work the full calendar year, they're only entitled to utilize what they've accrued. So we do a final compensation payout for a staff member that leaves.
So if somebody gets 20 days of vacation and they
I don't
leave
think
in
your
March,
microphone's on.
sorry, if someone gets the front load and they leave early, do we deduct it off that last?
That is
paycheck?
correct.
Thank you.
And the employee handbook spells that out.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dominic.
I have a question.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I received the handbook late this weekend, and I found it very difficult just to kind of read through the entire handbook that was sent out for the few days that we had to read the information. So I'm recommending that going forward, that information like of that caliber be sent out earlier so that we can have time to read through more thoroughly the information given unto us.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there any other questions? And is there comfort level in approving this item?
Not this one
Moving
for me.
forward.
Not me.
The CEO wants to add something. I do want to note, though, that there is an uncomfort level because it hasn't been able to be gone through thoroughly. So this item might not get passed.
Yeah, with respect, Commissioners, I just want to make sure that the resolution that's before you is not to approve the employee handbook. The resolution is for the personnel policies. And so the handbook is a procedural that will have to comply with the personnel policies if approved by the board. So that part of the reason that we did not send out that full employee handbook of 50 pages and red lines and all that is that's a work of ongoing work, essentially, because we would need the board's guidance on the personnel policies to implement those in the handbook.
Should have told us that before I read it.
Thank you.
They
Dominic?
should have told me that before I read it.
But don't the policy tie directly to the handbook?
The policies will guide the handbook. So part of what coming out of the board, if the board approves the policy, then we make sure that there's nothing in the handbook that would conflict with that. And it's because it's the how we do what we do. It's not the what. The board is approving the what.
I think there might be some confusion because in the documentation, it says this policy supersedes the policies previously set forth in the employee handbook.
Right.
So I think commissioners want to be very clear about what's in the previous policy. What's in the previous policy.
We extracted, and we had outside counsel extract the policy language that was in the 2017 version of the employee handbook.
Could Dominic bring this back in May?
I think I will recommend that Dominic bring it back in May. This particular item. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Dominic.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So can I ask a clarifying question? So in May, I am bringing back the personnel policy.
Item number 5.
Just
item
bring it
number
back in.
I believe the only question there is, please correct me if I'm wrong, is item number 5.
Yeah, with a clear red line so the commissioners will understand what the policies were and how they're morphing currently.
I believe the red line version was provided. If it was not, we will resend it. And then I believe the employee handbook was also sent. So if there's any questions on that, please feel free to reach out at your earliest convenience.
Absolutely. And thank you. I think those were provided, but I will say that I received a copy of the personnel policy last night, less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, that's not okay. So I apologize for
Yes,
that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, thank you, Dominic.
You're welcome.
We'll move right on to the next thing. The next item on the agenda for consideration by the board will be presented by Cheryl Burns, Chief Housing Choice Voucher Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Before you is a recommendation to assign 10 VASH project-based vouchers to an existing PBV contract, that is Hope Manor, and assign 39 project-based vouchers to 3 new construction developments. The Hope Manor apartments will be assigned 10 PBV VASH vouchers for homeless veterans who will receive supportive services from the VA. 4715 Northwestern Apartments will be allocated 16 project-based voucher units for families that will be referred from the CHA wait list, as will Chinatown Multifamily Apartments, who will receive 13 PBVs, and UV 700 Apartments, which will receive 10 PBVs, all from the PBV wait lists. No money will be awarded prior to construction of these developments, and all monies will go to assist families rent on these units once the units are developed. And with that, Carrie and I are available to answer any questions.
Are there questions on item number 6?
Just one on the veterans. Where you say you get your veterans from?
The VA will refer the veterans.
Do we already got like a cumulative list of veterans that's looking to be housed?
So, yeah, they work with veterans all over the area. This is the Jesse Brown VA, so that is what they do, is work with veterans. So when they find veterans that are homeless and suffering from alcoholism or drug abuse, those are the families that get these vouchers. Therefore, honorably discharged veterans that might have a substance abuse problem.
So we got
Just,
we got wraparound services.
They do. This will have supportive services with it. Yes, those will be provided by the VA.
Commissioner Hart?
Just point of clarification, that's the function of VASH vouchers universally.
Correct.
And that's how the referral will happen, like
Mm.
all other VASH vouchers.
Correct.
Okay.
Also, we ain't got no waiting list with them. They just come in, you call the VA and tell them we got 10 vacancies and they fill 'em.
Yep, they send referrals over.
Okay.
Were there other questions? Oh,
Just
Mr.
one.
Washington?
Have y'all been out to check out the facilities? Gary?
Yes, I did a walkthrough on Hope Manor. It's beautiful. It's a lovely home. It's been there. It's 100% operational. They have on-site staff. It's actually a very nice project. We've also driven by the other sites, all of the vacant land.
Drive by.
They're not
Vacant
developed
land. Well,
yet.
we get out of the car, but it's a vacant land, like a bank
Right,
or
they
a
finna build up.
parking lot.
Okay. So long as you check them out before we put our folks in there, no matter what they are.
Yes, ma'am.
They will be totally seen before residents go there.
I know you did.
We did.
Thank you.
So the Chinatown, is that new construction?
It will be.
Oh, the only one that's not new construction is Hope Manor.
Okay, you did say that. Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
We'll go on to item number 7 and 8, and they'll be presented by Ann McKenzie, Chief Development Officer. Item number 7 is the authorization to apply for rental assistance demonstration program, transfer of assistance project-based vouchers to subsidized units at the planned Southbridge 1C. Ann?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning. Good morning. We have 2 items today, and with me is Jewel Walton, Deputy for our RAD program. Southbridge 1C is transfer of assistance. This is a request to authorize CHA staff to apply for a rental assistance demonstration program commitment to enter into a housing assistance payment contract for the next phase of Southbridge. Southbridge is the former Harold Ickes site, and one of the sites here is that CHA-owned land and then city-owned land across the street. This is the first of 2 actions anticipated to allow for this development. We will be back asking for funding. This is simply to request authority for this transfer of assistance to allow for this PBV HAP on the site. I want to remind you that the first phases of Southbridge have been completed. The result is the 2 buildings that are there now that are just lovely, with 206 total units and ground floor retail. The next phase is adjacent to that, and we are very excited. The development team recommends this action for the following reasons. The first phases of Southbridge are leasing up successfully. The next phase will add 3 and 4 bedroom units to the site, which we are often asked about where are the larger units, which will provide a mix of family sites in this site, which is close to transportation, downtown, and strong schools. And the Illinois Housing Development Authority had already approved 9% low-income housing tax credits for this site. It's a part of our long pipeline of work that we have planned on our own sites to to replace housing. Jules with me if you have any questions.
I asked Julie this question, so maybe she can answer it today, or you. At Southbridge, I get a lot of complaints about the TSP, where tenants is stating that they only allowed to make a certain amount of money. I got one tenant saying she makes, normally went in with 30,000, and then she went and did overtime, got 40, and they telling her she's gonna lose her low income because she's making too much. And I'm just trying to see if we can take a deep look at the TSP to make sure that we're not trying to stifle our residents. We want them to make money, say, to buy a house. We ain't telling them you making too much and you still ain't even making enough to live. So, Jewel, I don't know if you looked at the TSP. I asked you to do that, and you got any feedback?
Not just yet, but that is something that we would be consider as our next action when we bring forth the request for additional funds. And then at that time, we will certainly be looking through the TSP to evaluate the question that you brought forth.
So I'm asking that you bring the TSP, current TSP, to the board, and that we could review it to see why it's holding back our residents. Again, it just don't make sense. I don't even know how we had held up the TSP when Southbridge came to phase 1. And so how they slipped this in here and telling our residents that they gotta stay poor and way down at the bottom in order to live there, I think that's not fair.
Yes, Commissioner, that's something we'll certainly look at.
Were there other questions?
Yeah, and I thought that we said that all TSPs would be looked at.
Yes,
When?
and we will bring
When?
this.
Have we
we-
started the process?
We'll bring, okay.
We said that all TSPs be looked at, and we need to start the process because time has brought about a change.
Yes, so we do actually have a sub-project where we're evaluating, particularly for many of the RAD properties that we're combining the TSPs and evaluating it with the PAM team.
Not just because it's RAD, because it's TSP, all mixed income. RAD really, whether RAD or not, they were still mixed income.
Understood. Thank you.
We said we'd look at all the TSPs.
And a lot
change
of
with the times.
There's a lot of, I'm sorry, Francine. A lot of them residents moved over there. They don't hardly know the difference. RAD, public housing. They were public housing tenants that got mixed in the RAD program because the building looked nice, so they wanted to move. And then they got all these different rules once they get in. I mean, I know, Jewel, you say y'all explain that to them when they transferring their assistance type from public housing to RAD, but some of them just ain't getting it. And I don't know if we need more advocates there with them when they learning this stuff, because we should be doing major workshops talking about these TSPs, letting the residents know this ain't your typical public housing. You got thresholds that you can't exceed, you know what I mean? So I'm just hoping that, like Francine said, we can get these TSPs back in here and take a look, CEO, somebody.
Yeah.
And then not to mix the two. I can't be a public housing with the right to return and you put me in a RAD unit, me not knowing the difference.
Yeah.
Hope you all not mixing the two.
Commissioners.
Right to return and RAD is two different things.
Yes, I'm sorry. Commissioners, if I might, we will look into the TSPs. We do have a lot of legacy documents that we are reviewing to make sure that we have consistency. And then we'd be happy to have a session with you just so you understand sort of what some of those technical terms are and requirements, as well as what we're getting some feedback on that. So we'll come back to you with that.
But we want the residents to understand. It ain't
Well,
really mine.
absolutely. And so I think that's part of it. One, we need to make sure that there's consistency, and then we need to make sure that we're communicating in a very clear way. Now that we have experience on some of these projects and some of the feedback that you're providing, Commissioner Parker, I think that this is a perfect time that we can make sure that we're updating the way those properties are operated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item number 8, which is the authorization for a second amendment to extend the term of the existing pre-development loan agreement with Near North Cabrini, LLC, or other related entity for Clybourne and Larrabee.
Thank you. This item is a request to extend the payment due date for up to $1.5 million in pre-development funds for the Clybourne and Larrabee pre-development work. Again, this is a site that the CHA owns where we are bringing housing back. The development team was approved by the CHA board in 2017, and a pre-development loan of up to $1.5 million was approved in 2019. unfortunately, that was at a 0% interest rate. So in 2020, we came back and raised that, extended the loan, and added a 1% interest rate. We've looked at it following our new standards, and the request before you is to extend the loan through December 31st, 2025, and charge a $7,500 extension fee like a bank, collect the 1% interest due to date on the amount drawn to date, and charge 6%, which is much closer to a bank's fee now moving forward. The development team recommends this action for the following reasons. The developer has shown results over the last couple of years. They have finally demolished the former Near North High School and are preparing the site for housing now. The developer has had staff turnovers, but now they do have a consistent staff and a feasible plan to move forward. And the suggested terms for the loan are much more aligned with the market for pre-development funding. And we look at the Cabrini area and all of our sites as a focus. We want to bring back housing, and this is a means to do so. I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions about item number 8?
I just have a statement. Loans, I just hope everybody's watching realize we don't lend money to people who don't pay back. And once you get that loan reinstated 3 times, we just need to stop doing business.
So
Understood, and that's why we're shortening terms also.
Right. We're shortening terms, we're increasing the interest rate, and we're charging fees because this has gone on too long. And I believe staff is finally comfortable that it's going to move forward. Otherwise, when we see this brought back to us again, we're not going to approve something. It has to move forward.
And
Understood.
Then too, we get interest rates. Everything we do, people charging us interest rates.
Yeah.
We should never give anybody anything interest free.
How long before construction start? I mean, you said this started 2017, that's 6 years, and they still, the building is demolished, the land is flat. When do we start building on it?
The intention is to be applying for the tax credits from the city of Chicago this year, which would be a 2024 closing, we would hope. We, of course, have to come back to you for that closing.
Wait, if they ain't paying their loan back, no, we can't help.
Excuse me?
You said we would help when they start in 2024? When they start, if we start in 2024, we're going to give them money to help them out. Now, if you owe me, nobody lends money to people don't pay back, unless it's a close family member.
This is a
We can't help.
pre-development
We can't
fund.
help.
This is to get them in place so that they can get their housing credits and get their plan approved and get the bank loan to build.
Then we
So they-
just say they owe us.
Yeah, no, but
But
when we go into financing in 2024 and we're asked to approve it, this will be paid back as part of whatever we commit to in the future.
If-
Otherwise, we're not going to approve it.
if they pay it back or attempt to pay it back.
I think what Commissioner Matanke is saying is that as part of their closing, it has to be paid back.
Right. And when do we see the revised drawings and look at the mid-rises and the housing stacks that we're going to get?
Yeah, we're going through that feasibility right now, so I would anticipate bringing something to the board at the end of the year, the beginning of next year.
So during briefing, I heard that these companies or this partnership is reputable. I know the Cabrini LLC, somebody talked a little bit about Hunt, so I'm hearing that Penrose, I'm hearing that they do good work, and it's just maybe they've been delayed. What's the real problem, you said?
Like many of our other developers, they've struggled with costs, and the costs for larger buildings, high-rises, have really, really gone up. There were also some concerns from the IEPA about the land, so we had a little back and forth with them on our environmental review. The land is fine, it was just the forms. And then they did have some changes of staff. Almost all of our developers have had changes of staff.
You said construction went up. It's gonna keep going up. It ain't going down. So
Yes,
it's even
understood.
now or never. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioners, item number 9, which is personnel actions, was discussed in closed session. Since we did not have any requests for public to address voting items appearing on the agenda, I will now present an omnibus motion for approval of items number 1 through
Madam
9,
Chair, may I?
excluding.
We did get one request from Tamika Holt.
Okay, we will have a public participation. Tamiko Holt.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you doing?
Good morning, Ms. Holt.
So I see in item number, what's that? As a matter of fact, the one that was just presented by Ann McKenzie about how you constantly and consistently, and this is not the first agreement that you've extended or gave more time due to COVID, and even after the reopening, when people got back to business, but you yet still haven't extended our contract. And putting up the option year is not extending that original contract. So I want that on the record, and I brought this to you all before when you extended your first contract with your corporate leaser over at, what's that, the tennis court place? And the way you do business here is very disingenuous when it comes to our black contractors, not no one else, black contractors. That's one thing. Another thing, I want to know about this new language that I'm hearing, the Gautreaux opportunity areas. Gautreaux is done. And I'm noticing that you're still putting money in everywhere else, but especially the west side and south side, with the same land that you took our people off of, and you're supposed to be rebuilding, but you're constantly land swapping to keep from doing that and pushing those projects back further and further, talking about there is no monies, but excessively you're wasting money here with your contracting that you're doing, because everything, absolutely everything in business has a standard industry cost, and it seems like nobody's checking that anymore. That's a problem. Once again, the Gautreaux decree is over with. But yes, I'm still hearing the language, and you're still not putting monies. And I'm not talking about affordable housing. I'm talking about income-based housing. There is a difference. And that's why you got a problem with residents over there in South Bridge and in the
30
TSP now.
seconds. Thank you, Ms. Holt. We will have our General Counsel, Ellen Harris, speak about Gautreaux, just the terminology about Gautreaux and its current status.
Well, let me say this. Gautreaux is the settlement agreement parameters are not complete. We are actively working on that, and it does have an end date of 2024. And we are working together with our teams to see how we meet that deadline.
2024, what month?
July.
July. I'll continue to watch this process.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. Commissioners, you've heard comments related to items on today's agenda. Do you have any further questions or comments on any items? Okay. Hearing none, I will present an omnibus motion for approval for items number 1 through 9, excluding item number 5, which is being pulled. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed votes, abstentions, or recusals? Hearing none, items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are approved by unanimous vote. Next on the agenda is public participation for general matters. Today we have a total of 9 registered speakers who will comment on general CHA matters. Depending on questions you ask, we may refer your questions directly to the CEO, Scott, who may be able to provide us with an immediate response. We may direct you to staff so your concern is promptly addressed, or we may need to contact you after the meeting to get more information. But be assured that your concerns will be addressed before the next scheduled meeting. All comments must be addressed to me and not to individual members of the board or CHA staff. Disruptive behavior that impedes conducting board business is prohibitive. Disruptive behavior includes, but is not limited to, personal attacks, abuse, threatening or intemperate language, and refusal to abide by the time limitations set forth in the public participation rules. Disruptive behavior that impedes conducting board business is prohibited. If the board is unable to conduct business due to serious and/or continued disruption from the public, I will recess or adjourn the meeting to allow removal of individuals for egregious breach of order. Disruptive behavior not only affects conducting board business, it also prevents registered speakers from safely communicating or getting their concerns addressed as well. The following is the order in which speakers will be called: Bob Israel, Jenny Newsom, Carla Jackson, Shirley McLaurin, Rosetta Randall, Mary Williams, Irene Harris, Orlando DeLeon, Tamika Holt. And I will remind folks in threes. So the first three will be Bob Israel, Jenny Newsom, and Carla Jackson, please. Mr. Israel? Commissioner, I'm Chair Herlock, the chair of the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, Chair Locke.
No problem.
First question I want to ask you is ask the lady sitting next to you why she haven't reached out to me. I've been coming here since 6 months. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been coming here 6 months trying to meet with her.
Okay.
Her and Ann McKenzie and what's his name? Her chief of staff been spending me like a top. You know what I'm saying? And I came here 6 months ago just to talk about Albany Terrace, and it was 100 million. Now it went to 120 million. Now I just heard it's 160 million. So I just wanted to make sure. So that means 16 million should go to Section 3, Section 3 concerns. And I just heard so much today. It's sad. Somebody up here got blood on their hand because I do this for to try to help people buy houses. Y'all say 63 houses was bought. If y'all did Section 3 right, probably 640 houses probably would have been bought. But okay, make it different. So I'm watching my words. Somebody said, I'm glad y'all said, watch my words. Actions become my character. So I want to put a proper character out here, though. But I'm highly pissed off, be honest with you. Because, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse that happened on Christmas. I was listening to the news and how they did those elders over there when all that, the rain or whatever, y'all, the building got tore up. But y'all been spending millions over it anyway. Now y'all spending 160 million. And I talked to Francine the other day at the CHA Section 3 business meeting over on the south side. So I'm going to get the facts. Y'all gave $5 million of plumbing on that building to the company that don't exist. So I'm just going to start naming names and moving forward.
30 seconds remaining.
I talked to her, and I'm telling you, like, from she ain't no stupid, but I'm going to put a complaint on you guys because y'all got all these front companies out here running away with these money, the usual suspect, and I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Israel. We'll have Jenny Newsom and then Carla Jackson. Yes. We will have them address Mr. Israel.
Good morning,
Good morning, Jenny.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. First, before my time starts, I would like to express my sincerest thanks for me and my family because of our recent loss, especially mine. I lost two brothers that were decorated Army veterans, Vietnam, Purple Heart, and all that other stuff in between. And then I lost a grandson. And this all happened within a week of each other. I just want to say I got many condolences and everything from the people here at CHA and from the CAC and even the residents. But Miss Jenny is still here. Okay? All right, now I'll go with my presentation. This morning, I come here to address one thing. Who are we really letting manage our buildings and especially the senior properties? What I find is that there are so many things that you guys are spending money for, and it's not being properly used. Number one, let's say about the cleaning, the sanitizing. Fabuloso and a little bit of bleach does not clean and sanitize. Did you guys realize that today is the 3rd year in which the COVID mandate was made by the city? Having said that, the hallways aren't normally swept, mopped on a regular basis. All right. The elevator tracks. Cigarette butts. Are you kidding? We're not even supposed to be smoking. You can smell, you can get high at any time that you want to. The people that run in and out of our buildings is ridiculous. Okay? I'm looking at the grounds at all of the 18 senior buildings. I go all over. Miss Jenny is the little gray eagle. But I'm tired of buying tires. I just purchased another tire because when I come into my parking lot, I'm getting nails in my tires.
30 seconds.
The thing of it is, when you guys put people in there to manage our building, it's supposed to be maintenance people in the RSCs. You know, it only takes, most of them are very, very excellent people. But all it takes is one or two bad apples to spoil the whole barrel. And that's what has happened to our senior properties. And most people say because of COVID. I know it's not because of COVID. This is what's happening to our senior properties.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newsom. We're going to have Carla Jackson come up. As she does come up, I just want to remind people that responses to comments presented during public participation will be posted on the CHA's website. If you do have written materials for the board, please give the materials to our board secretary so that they may be distributed. And after the board meeting, the board secretary will distribute a copy to the full board based on the CHA's public participation rules. Each speaker, again, has 2 minutes to speak. The assistant board secretary will advise you when 20 seconds is remaining, and speakers, again, will address the board not individually or cede their time to any other person. Ms. Jackson?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My concern is that, good morning, board. My concern is a major concern. You all sent out an email stating that y'all had emergency funds for the homeless. And I tried to help somebody that was homeless. And about time they got through with all the red tape, the person gave up. Because they took them through so much, asking them for all this documentation, which they didn't have because they was homeless. My concern is that if y'all got all this money to help the homeless, why is it that people are still on the ground homeless? Why is that? Everybody else can come here and get help, like the migrants just got here. They got this big old school. They put them in there like 3 weeks ago on Ellis. Immediately help these people. We can't even get no help here. There are people that live here. Y'all need to revisit that, and y'all need to step up and figure it out. Because this lady was on 57 and 57 in Lake Park for a whole year, sleeping in the booth where you catch the bus. Nobody helped her. I had to call 311. They finally came out and put her in the hospital. Something is wrong with this picture. Something's wrong with it. And it needs to be addressed. If people are getting money to, if people are supposed to get money to help get people off the street, why is they still homeless? And I see it every day. Period. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson. Okay, Ms. Jackson, I know you're going to have a seat, but Cheryl, could you update a little bit on the voucher, the homeless voucher, emergency housing voucher process?
Thank you, Chair. So the CHA was awarded funds and an allocation of 1,165 vouchers through the Emergency Housing Voucher Program. These funds were set aside by the federal government that we had to work and accept referrals through the continuum of care. So CHA did not actively have a wait list for these. We only assisted families that were referred to us by one of the member organizations of the continuum of care. So all of these families had to have been working with one of the organizations. They had to be in the coordinated entry system. They had to be verified as homeless, and then they were able to be referred. We worked with the COC to connect them with Social Security to assist with getting documents and different types of things, but there were some waivers available as well. To date, we've leased up 1,122 of those vouchers, so we still have referrals from the COC to assist families, but the majority of those are taken. We did advertise on our website, and we did notify both our property owners and voucher holders about the funding, but anybody that needed that assistance would have had to come through the continuum of care. Those were not CHA's own vouchers to administer.
Thank you for that clarification. We'll move on to the next three registered speakers, Shirley McLaurin, Rosetta Randall, and Mary Williams. Ms. McLaurin?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I just wish I had known it 15 years ago, okay? My concerns are this, and I'm hoping I'll have someone that will respond to me real soon. My concerns are these. 15 years ago, the first 10 years, my health was not good. And I had to retire from a job that I hated anyway. And also, during that 10 years, by me establishing and going back to college, getting my degree in Associates of Arts, and building my health up so that I could get back to work, so that I could leave CHA Housing. I didn't come to stay. I made that quite plain to those, and when I say those, I'm talking about the managements that we've had down through the years, and I count 5 as of this new one, okay? And each time I got a job during the last 5 years that I've been still at 3930 North Clark Street, I have encountered my rent going up. I think that's totally unfair. I think that's not what should I say, in concern for the tenant that's trying to better their condition to become a homeowner of some type here in Chicago or wherever they choose to live. So I had to quit those jobs because it hurt in my pocket. You study taking money from me, and I can't save towards home ownership. Now that created an issue for me. And I had a little relapse in my health, but that was due to stress and trying to improve my quality of life. So I need to know
20 seconds remaining.
when that's going to change. And I would like to become in that program that was announced earlier today. Never really knew anything about it until today, okay? Then I need to know, why is it that CHA brings in a lot of mentally ill people, male and female, and I don't see any.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. McLaurin. I believe the CEO wanted to share something.
Just briefly, the Choose to Own homeownership program is open for applications. You can check on our website, and Ms. McLaurin will follow up with you to make sure that you have that information if you're interested, as well as responding to your concern.
Please do. Thank you.
We have Ms. Rosetta Randall. If Ms. Randall isn't here, we have Ms. Mary Williams, or May Williams. Okay. We have Ms. Irene Harris, Mr. Orlando De Leon. Thank you, Mr. De Leon. And after you will then be Ms. Tamika Holt.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Orlando De Leon. I'm with SCA Local 1. I'm here to speak on behalf of all the chief engineers, maintenance, and janitors at the Union CHA buildings. Recently, CHA transferred management and partial ownership of 2 public housing complexes, Albany Terrace and Irene McCoy Gain Apartments, to the Michaels organization. This resulted in the displacement of long-serving union maintenance workers and janitors with non-union workers who do not receive the training or pay, affordable health insurance, pension that the union staff did. The Michaels organization insists on going and staying non-union, resulted in immediate problems for its senior tenants. As you know, the heat at Albany Terrace went out for 4 days during a frigid stretch when temperatures reached -8 degrees. Since the Michaels organization had only retained 2 of the 5 staffs, there was insufficient staff to resolve the issue in a timely manner. This is just one of the many examples over the years where CHA has transferred building management from a union to a non-union operator, resulting in lower pay and benefits for the workers, a lack of quality union maintenance training, and problem for tenants. Will CHA finally commit to including union pay benefits and training standards into the RFPs to maintain the good jobs and quality maintenance at its buildings? Will they finally have a procurement program that works? As Ms. Newsom was mentioning, my members are always telling me they don't have enough supplies. They don't have the proper supplies because the property management companies do not order enough in time. I don't know if it's the management companies doing that or if it's the actual managers on site, but that needs to be looked at because the janitors and the maintenance staff don't have the materials to be able to get work orders done and maintain those buildings clean, and are definitely understaffed
20
at all those
seconds.
buildings. So, yeah, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeLeon. Ms. Tamiko Hope?
Hello again, Commissioners, Chair. First, Pope School. It's been since, 2016, 17, when Pope School was acquired, and it was also supposed to have Section 3 business spaces in it. What, did you move monies? Was they allowed to move monies to continue and finish this project? Because it's still not done. We haven't forgot it because we advocated for it desperately. It's supposed to have shared kitchens for caterers, all of that. And we're wondering, what's the timeline? Number two, management companies. Your management companies, everything goes up every year due to the economy, and it's supposed to, but their staff is dwindling, and it has nothing to do with unions. Training for new managers, because you're still recycling the old ones that was doing horrendous things to our people, and less known keeping up the property like they're supposed to. What do your asset managers do? Where is the check and balance system? They are drawing back, they are scaling back in staff as far as management and as far as maintenance. Has nothing to do with unions. Unions actually lock our black people out in all areas. But at the end of the day, they're getting more and more money to manage your properties. Your properties are depreciating, and they're scaling back on staff. This is one of the reasons, amongst others, along with Section 3, why we back on our way to Washington. We're going to see McCarthy this time. And this time, we're going to make sure there is no VCA. It needs to be enforced because Section 3 is not in fair housing anymore. It's in policy department. But you and your managers, you're
20
not watching
seconds.
your managers, your management companies, all of them. Nobody is exempt. They do the same thing to our people. And my people, ADOS Freedmen people, are 75+% of your population. We're not going. And we still, although we have our problems, we still fight for one another.
Time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. We'll have the CEO speak a little bit about Pope School that you had spoken about.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Ms. Holt. I want to give you a little bit of background. When I arrived here, we were actively engaged in the Pope School renovation, which was both a historic renovation and very, very expensive. And we ended up having to work with HUD on that because of the amount of money that we were spending on it. And we agreed to mothball the third floor, which had originally been intended for residents. Then we talked about having service providers, and we talked about having other things. So there were several purposes that have been outlined for the third floor. So we mothballed the third floor. It is completely closed off. We're using the first and the second floor. And also the auditorium is closed off because it was going to require millions more investment. And that was right at the height of the pandemic when using an auditorium was not something that was anticipated anytime soon. So we will continue exploring how we can utilize Pope School the best way. But at this point, we are not investing more money that can go towards building housing.
Thank you. Thank
I'd be happy to talk with you later about that.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. We also received written comments from Bonnie Gibson. To summarize Ms. Gibson's recommendation, the CHA should consider distributing HAP payments to owner participants on a quarterly basis as opposed to its current process of making monthly HAP payments. I would like to thank our registered speakers for signing up to address the board. I would also like to thank Ms. Gibson for her recommendation. A copy of her email will be provided to CEO Scott for follow-up. Also, responses for all comments received today will be distributed at the next board meeting and will also be posted on the CHA's website. A few announcements before we adjourn today's meeting. Our next committee and board meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. As we continue to refine our public comment process, registered speakers now have the option of participating via telephone or in person on the day of the committee/board meetings. As I mentioned before, we have planned on changing the order of our meeting whereby the public participation on general matters will occur at the very beginning of our meetings. We feel confident that registered speakers who have had to leave the meeting without addressing the board because of time constraints will welcome this change. Pending any further delays, we plan on implementing this change at the May 16th board meeting. If there's no more business to come before the board, may I motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
As a reminder, our next committee and board meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. Please remember that advance registration is required if you would like to attend as an observer or provide in-person commentary at the board-relating meetings. And we thank you all for participating in today's meeting proceedings. The meeting of the March 21st, 2023 board is now adjourned. Thank you so much.